Wake up, wake up. It is Friday, March 29th, and it's wonderful to have you here. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger, and we are here on what is a very rainy, drizzly Friday in San Francisco, at least this morning. How everything's in the East Bay, Larry? I see you're wearing a jacket. It must be a little cold.
Yeah, it's a cold morning. Definitely a cold morning, definitely a rainy morning. And man, March is like, you never know what you're going to get. You're either going to get summer weather or winter weather. And today it's a little bit of winter weather.
Right. There's false winter. There's deceptive winter. There's second or third winter. I'm not sure which one we're in right now, but it's a very rainy day. And it's a good day to be inside, watching some TV. The Sweet 16 will continue with the last even suggestion of Cinderella being an 11-seed NC State Wolfpack team. You don't get a lot of Cinderellas from the ACC who have already a championship hanging in their gym's banner. But that's it. Lowest remaining seed will play today. Chalk did a lot of talking yesterday. Although we did get a 1-seed bounced.
And I have Bama going to the Final Four, so I like the fact that Bama took down Carolina. So yeah, Alabama has got a really good team, good team, and they got a good guard. They had some random white guy, big man last night who came alive.
Dude, he looks like the kind of guy who might eat a raccoon or something like that. Like he looks like he's from Alabama. But very impressive. Misses his 2 free throws and then blocks what might have been the, full length heave to ruin your night. So good stuff there. And Larry, we have a little opening day to talk about, but the truth is, and this is where I think you and I should start today, is, a thumbnail is basically the invitation that you send to the potential audience of this is what we're talking about today. And so I'm in the thumbnail creation business. You and Kevin are certainly in the thumbnail creation business. And we have learned implicitly that you put anything on your thumbnail other than football, and you are inviting a smaller audience into the room, into the show. A slow news day in the NFL, Larry, is officially bigger to the national sports conversation than opening day. And I'm not trying to be dramatic about it, but this is true. And this is a world that you and I not only did not live in 15, 20 years ago, we would have never even seen it coming. Like the NFL was a big deal back then, but the difference between the NFL slow off-season news day being a big deal as opposed to opening day, which is basically a holiday on our annual sports calendar, things have changed an awful lot.
No doubt. And thank you, Rob Manfred. I mean, Eric Armstead says the 49ers offer to him was extremely disrespectful. That is a significantly bigger story than Giants open in San Diego against the Padres. And that's a relatively new phenomenon. So, it's just kind of the way it is right now. It's just football is king and is the biggest thing in America, and everything else be damned. I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
It feels like that there's no element of, by the way, where's the wake up Damon and Larry fancy frame that we normally have?
What happened there?
You're not
fancy frame on us?
You're not framing this well, Larry. There it is. Oh, now I feel at home. My goodness. Now I feel normal. But it really is. It's not just like you and I are trying to trick the audience in here, so we're just going to go with a football thumbnail at all times, at all points. You can really feel it out there. Like you can feel it in just the way people in the chat room are chatting about sports. You can see it in the way that ESPN even offers its daily headlines to you. Like yesterday was opening day in Major League Baseball, and MLB is still not on the scroll of just available scores and topics across the front of ESPN. You got to go into the 3-dot lounge to find it in a pull-down menu. Women's college basketball is more important to the conversation in sports than opening day.
Well, let's also remember here, ESPN is now, they used to be about sports fans. Now they're about themselves. So they have a financial foothold in all these things that are in front of baseball. and they're competing directly with the MLB network, and that's it. I mean, if ESPN had the MLB contract, MLB would be front and center. Look at the way they pump, MMA, which they're a part of. Look at the way they pump women's sports. Nobody cares about women's softball, basketball. I mean, they're trying to pretend on PTI that Kornheiser and Wilbon can break down the women's tournament as well as the men's. That's laughable. They're not watching any of it. And if they are, they're watching it only because they're made to. I mean, the WNBA only exists because the NBA allows it to exist by absorbing its losses. It would not stand on its own. So,
but
we're at that moment in history now where it's like, oh, we absolutely must honor women's sports equal to men's, even though the audience says that it's nowhere close to equal.
Well, the reason why it's happening is because WNBA teams have become basically investment shelters for the ultra wealthy. Every single league is brought to life or sent to its execution based on a TV revenue deal. And the WNBA TV revenue deal, as much as you and I want to point out there isn't a lot of curiosity there, it's drawing more eyeballs than ever before. So they see this as an investment, get-in opportunity. Joe Lacob wouldn't be bringing a WNBA team to San Francisco for altruism. He's doing it because he thinks he can make a decent buck off of it. And the owners having the vehicle of WNBA team ownership means more to them than any WNBA team probably means to its city. And the reason why it's all allowed to happen is because it's another place for an NBA owner to put more of their money reinvesting back into basketball and the coming next TV or media deal, which but for the Pac-12 in sports has never gone down, right? There's no such thing as whatever we're offering you this year for your TV package, you're going to get less in the upcoming negotiation. It only becomes more. So,
that's why, and that's why you're seeing it piggybacked with the NBA. There's not going to be any WNBA arena. It's going to be an NBA arena that's empty that night that they can use. So there's no arena real cost to the teams. But it wouldn't stand on its own if you had to sell advertising and work on, survive off the gate and so on and so forth. But whatever. I've got a daughter. I'm all for it. I interviewed David Stern. I asked him, I said, what's your greatest accomplishment? He said the creation of the WNBA. I laughed. He said, well, I've opened the dream of a pro basketball career to, instead of half the planet, the entire planet. So, that was his way of looking at it, but, it is what it is. It's like, you've got, there's a low demand for it. And yet it's kind of being force fed down everybody's throat. Like, hey man, this is going to be awesome in the future. We'll see. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It will be awesome in the future if the NBA continues to absorb the losses while, pumping it up with every ounce of energy they have.
Right. They're going to need more than one Caitlin Clark, and they only have one of those right now. And did you hear that the Big Three actually offered her $5 million to come to Ice Cube's 3-on-3 tournament of the Big Three instead of going to be the number one pick at the WNBA draft where she'll make $80,000? I hope she takes the money. If I were Caitlin Clark, I'd take a 1-year, $5 million flyer to go play in the Big Three and then get drafted as the number one overall pick to Lacob's expansion team when he's got the number one overall pick in the next year. So, Caitlin, you got options. I hope you make the best choices out there. So it is amazing, though. The slow news day where nothing officially is what we're reporting happened in the NFL is a bigger story than opening day around Major League Baseball. That's really something else. Now, Larry and I still love baseball. We're maybe old enough to where we still do that, and we'll get to it. But we do have a little 49ers to start with here today. and we'll never waste your time. Please hit like and subscribe. We're not going to drag you through a 5-hour show today with not much going on. We're going to try to, do you think we can get a show in under an hour, Larry? Do you think it could possibly happen?
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, probably. I'm not betting on it. I'll take the under. Or I'll take the over, I guess. What would Ichiro's interpreter take? You want to fade that guy. He's always getting it wrong.
Ichiro or Shohei?
Excuse me, Shohei. Oh, my God, look at me. Just confusing my Japanese players. That's terrible.
Yeah,
you know what it is? You know what it is? I'm working tea this morning, not coffee, because we're out of coffee. So that's why there will be some malaprops. And this will be a mistake-laden show. There's no doubt about that. Anyways, hit like and subscribe, and please forgive us for all quickly coming mistakes that'll be offered up in today's program. Show me the video, Larry. We got Brandon Aiyuk with Shannon Sharpe talking about his contract. This is what? Nightcap. This isn't even Club Shay Shay. I don't even know what this is, but it's Brandon Aiyuk talking with Shannon Sharpe, and that looks like T.O. Is that Terrell Owens?
No, it's Ocho Cinco, Chad
Ocho
Johnson,
Cinco?
whatever,
okay.
whatever you want to call Chad Johnson these days.
Okay,
here it is. This is Sharpe and Ocho Cinco and Aiyuk.
I appreciate that.
So Brandon, when obviously your representative have been talking to John Lynch, who's the general manager, and there've been the swirlings about he's going to get traded, blah blah blah. But John Lynch came out earlier this week and said, "I promise you, nothing is going on there." And then you had the IG story with the emojis, the money, the talking, the BS, and the walking. So what's been relayed to you, as much as you can divulge, what's been relayed to you through your representative?
That we're trying to get work done. They're trying to get work done. I mean, they trying to get work done. That's all I can say. Y'all know how it gets. I don't even want to get too far into that. You know, I'm just trying to get like what Ocho just said. I'm trying to get what I deserve. I felt like this season playing football, I figured out who I was as a person, as a player, what I bring to the table, what I bring to the locker room, what I bring to organization, and just the value I hold when I walk in that building, because people gonna follow me because I've done it the right way since I've been in that building from the first day I walked in there to when I was in there earlier this morning. Done it the right way. So, and if they don't see it worth in that, that's all it is. That's all it is. It ain't nothing else. It ain't nothing else besides that. But I can't, like I said, I can't get into it. We got professionals working on both sides, so hopefully we can come to a professional agreement and continue to play professional football.
All right, let me just start with the whole concept of professionalism, and he's right about that. And you should let the pros behind the scenes handle it. I don't know what good Brandon Aiyuk just did for himself right there. You know, do you feel like more of a man if you say, you know, hit the bricks, go ahead, you know, get out on a stroll if you're not going to get it right. I don't know what is being serviced by that moment. I don't think that facilitates a deal that he wants, nor do I believe that takes him further away from the deal that he wants. There will be absolutely zero consideration of Brandon Aiyuk's expressed feelings on, you know, Shannon Sharpe's podcast in this negotiation for the 49ers or anyone actually dealing with it at the table. Here's what Brandon Aiyuk deserves. He deserves to be paid like a team's best wide receiver. And hopefully the 49ers can work that out. Not a lot of there. Wasn't half as sexy as I thought it would be when I heard like, ooh, Aiyuk's talking about the 49ers and his deal. And Kevin sent me over the link last night, Larry, and I watched it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that, but there's not that much going on there.
Well, I mean, he wants to get paid.
Of course, we knew that.
This just in. He wants to get paid, and they're negotiating. And sounds like he knows that he better not say anything bad about the team because he very well could be back there. At the same time, he doesn't want to in any way say, hey, you know what? I badly want to be back there. I'll walk away if the money's not there. You know, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I mean, it's a weird situation. He says they want he says he's kind of indicated by the fact that they're negotiating that he would like to be a Niner. I think the Niners have said that they would like to keep him a Niner, but then he also said, and everybody has said, that the deal won't get done until after the wide receiver money or free agency all shakes out, and after the draft, most likely. So, so we'll see. What if all of a sudden the going rate becomes over 30 million? Are you going to pay him over 30 million? My guess is, if you said, what do you think is going to happen? I think they're going to re-sign him. I think they're going to find a way to draft this kid, Malachi Corley, who's very Debo-esque. And then I think they're going to go into next year, play it out with the three of them. And then at the end of the year, if they can trade Debo, they will. And if not, they may have to cut Debo. But they'll be in that position next year to make that decision. And I think Corley is a very much of a replacement for Debo, and the Niners sent a whole contingent to Western Kentucky to look at Malachi Corley, and I just think that's what's ultimately going to happen. I think they'll try to figure out a way to draft Corley, and then the pressure will be on Debo. Are you going to perform? And if you perform, we can renegotiate. And if you don't perform, if you perform decently, we may trade you. And then if you perform poorly, we may cut you. I think that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, it makes sense. By the way, so Corley is going to be available day 2? And that's not a day 1 pick, right?
Probably day 2. Yeah, definitely day 2. Second round, third round, I'd say.
And I mean, if you got him in the guaranteed to pop in the NFL side of your draft bracket, there's going to be other teams that might, be wondering about him too. If I were Brandon Aiyuk, I wouldn't be attaching my deal to any future draft concerns or what Debo made. I wouldn't be worried about annual average value or anything like that. Guaranteed dollars. It's all that matters. I think that the 3 years, 55 to 58 million guaranteed over 3 years in a deal that is, for smoke and mirror purposes, a 4 or 5 year deal. But the guarantee is really through the first 3 years, which means it's the 3-year contract more than anything else. And I think that that's probably, the basement of any starting price negotiation. 58 million guaranteed. Parag, Brandon Aiyuk's people work out the fluff around that, because that's all that matters, right?
Well, what did Ridley get guaranteed dollars was?
50.
Yeah. So I would say that's probably where it starts right there. You better come up with 50 guaranteed. And then if you come up with 50 guaranteed, you probably want to stretch that over 3 or 4 seasons or more. And then, and so that, you're somehow benefiting. As far as Corley goes, he's rated as the 15th best wide receiver in this class by Draft Tech. He's listed to go around 74, which would be definitely round 3. So maybe he goes late round 2. Maybe you can trade a couple picks into the late round 2 to get him. He's probably going to be your second round pick if you can make it happen.
If I were Brandon Aiyuk's agent, I would just simply say, we're not going to be booking you on any of these shows anymore. I want you to put your phone down and stop going with a not very clever at all. Anyone can decipher this type of emoji hieroglyphic communication. Like, it's just all so petty to me. And like that, it's a generational thing. I'm sure, Brandon Aiyuk is officially a good 20 years younger than I am. So, how he talks on Instagram is different than how I talk on Instagram. I really don't go on Instagram, but to me, there's something about discretion. And why have all of this happening in the public space playing out, and you look, whether you are or not, you look like it's sour grapes, and you look like you're negotiating from a point of weakness, not a point of strength. And I just don't understand what the allure is to have all this dirty laundry done in public, when really the process of doing the laundry does not matter. It's only the result that matters. And if the result is going to be a very good result that you're excited about, that keeps you on the team, that's been good to you so far, why wouldn't you just want to announce that when that happens? Or if you do get traded, then you can go ahead and have your, well, let me tell you what really happened. But just all these preemptive strikes striking against nothing, I just don't understand it. I guess it's just people trying to just content, Larry. And I guess we're guilty of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys who are friends, have friends in the media, and it's like, hey, my friend reached out and wants to have me on, and I don't think there's any downside of it, really. I mean, how, you know, what is it going to help him get paid? No. Is it going to ruin his reputation? No. It's just kind of like, I don't need it either, but you know what? I don't begrudge these guys. If they want to go on with their friends, make a point and say, hey, you know what? I'm still out here and I'm not, go for it. Go for it. I don't think it has any real effect either way, to be honest.
No, it really doesn't. It just serves the moment, but it doesn't serve the topic very well. And I certainly hope that when it's all said and done, the topic is, of course, Brandon Aiyuk was brought back to the 49ers. He's in the prime of his career. He's very good. He doesn't miss games, and Brock Purdy loves him. And Kyle Shanahan insists that the single best way to go into next year is with an offseason with this guy and Brock Purdy working out. So I really hope that it can get done. But a whole bunch of not too much there going on in that video from also, Larry, the Vineyard of Sour Grapes. Aiyuk Armstead is on the record saying that he feels very disrespected about how the 49ers approached him in the contract negotiation that he ended up walking away from. Quote, they extended an offer to me for $6 million for a 1-year deal with incentives to go up to like $8 million. When they sent that over, I did feel extremely disrespected. I don't feel like that level of compensation is nowhere near the player that I am. I get it. But that wasn't an offer to say, basically what they told you with that offer, Brandon, is that they didn't want you back anymore.
Eric.
That's I told you this tea is terrible, Larry. I need my coffee. But what they told you there, Eric, is that you are no longer a vital piece of this organization. That was a roadmap to your next opportunity more than it was an invitation to come home. And you can say that that is a disrespectful thing to do for a guy who has been the Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate and is very liked and very respected. And he goes on to say, I put a lot into what I do. I'm not just a guy who goes to practice and then goes home and just does the bare minimum. I'm a guy who watches the most film. I invest the most time in preparation. I'm working on my game, my craft. I have a real passion for this, a true love for this. And he says all the right things, and I believe him. But all of that never amounted to a single season of Pro Bowl caliber play or all pro play. And basically what the 49ers told Aiyuk Armstead is you're not getting the beloved around here salary bump. You're going to get paid like an NFL rank and file defensive lineman because that's basically what you produce. And so, I understand why it would rub him the wrong way, but the contract that they offered him is commiserate with the player that he's really become at this point in his career.
No doubt. I mean, everybody's got to do what they got to do. It's business, and he should feel disrespected because he was disrespected. I mean, they basically said, here's a third of your salary. You're making 18, we'll offer you 6. Will you come back for a third? And he's like, no, I'm not. Please release me. And they said, okay, we'll release you. And now Jed has told him, hey, you'll be a lifelong Niner and this and that, and you'll always be able to come back and this and that. But the reality is that Collins and Elliott are cheaper and healthier. I mean, the Niners can't really say it's all about health because Yatir Gross-Matos was offered the exact same thing that Armstead was, and he missed more games this year. So it's not really about that. it's just about the quarterbacks coming up, and they need to be fiscally responsible. And some of the big name players are going to have to go. And this was a painless way to make a big figure in their room go away. I mean, Collins and Elliott are cheaper, they're healthier, and I understand how he feels. And it's unfortunate that he had to go to the to Twitter and put it out there. Just take it like a man, go on to Jacksonville and be that classy guy that you are. The Niners lost a damn good player and their number one locker room leader. It's not like they're sitting there going, "Oh, we're way better," but they're cheaper, and they're gonna have to pay Purdy a ton of money next year, and they're just getting ready for it. So there was no way he was going to be coming back. And the kinds of injuries that he has with the plantar fasciitis in the knee are chronic.
Right.
So they're not the kinds of injuries that are just going to go away. He's not going to have better feet and better knees next year as a 6'7" defensive tackle that gets chopped down by O linemen every snap. So, I mean, I know he doesn't like it. It's unfortunate. I know it comes across as, man, the Niners did you wrong, but, you know what? You're not the priority. And when you get older and you're got chronic injuries, they have to expect that you're going to be hurt. And if you're going to be hurt and only play a third of the games, then they should be able to pay you a third of the money. And so they estimated he'd play about a third of the games, and they offered him about a third of the money. And so I'm sure he didn't like it.
Well, you hate to see things end poorly and on a down note, and a little bitterness and anger being the remaining feeling as he departs one franchise for another. But Brandon Aiyuk will be welcome back one day, and there'll be lots of hugs and open arms. And it's just, I just don't understand why everyone insists on putting their business on the front page of their social media. It's not business media, it's social media. And for these guys, I just think that they blurred a line. So basically, instead of telling us a story where, well, the 49ers greatly valued me still, but I was looking for a fresh start, and framing it that way, and I'm going to Jacksonville now because we've, taken this 49er thing about as far as I think it's going to go, which is the way he could have framed it. It looks like, well, even the team that I gave my entire career to doesn't believe in me anymore. So that's the player you're getting, Jacksonville. A franchise that is smart enough to keep on appearing in the Super Bowl says, don't need this guy anymore to do that. Like, I just don't understand why you would lead with that, why you would want that out there.
Well, because Jacksonville can see the Niners situation just the way every other team can. The Niners are not saying that Aiyuk Armstead sucks or that Aiyuk Armstead can't play. The Niners are saying we're going to have to pay our $1 million quarterback $40 million probably next year. And that means it's a new world order. And that means that several of our high-priced players are going to have to go. And Eric's hurt and the closest to the end. And there's guys in free agency that we can get that are cheaper and healthier. And that's what we're going to do. And I think Jacksonville sees it for what it is. They know that the Niners situation, what it is with the quarterback, and they know that there's tough decisions to be made. So it's not like anybody's really getting over on anybody else. It's just, it is what it is. The Niners cap is, the cap's going up, but not near enough to accommodate for Purdy's extension. And that means the Niners have to make tough decisions, and other teams know it. And Eric's film, when he did play, is good. He played well when he did play, but only the
Super Bowl.
Fact of the matter is, he's only going to play one of every, 2 games he's getting paid for. Maybe one of every 3 games he's getting paid for, and the Niners wanted coverage on that.
Well, again, don't want to see any hard feelings against players that we admire, and I think we both admire Aiyuk Armstead. We certainly admire Brandon Aiyuk. And we just hope it all gets done. And there is like the news to share with you today. It's been a slow week of news for the 49ers. And I guess that's pretty much standard operating procedure. The closer you get to the draft, they're They're just circling the wagons to get ready for that moment. That's what's next. Probably not a free agent signing between now and then.
Well, you never know. I mean, they're talking to safeties. I think there's a veteran safety or two out there that they likely could sign before the draft. They're really, really thin at safety. I mean, you have Afonga coming off a knee injury. You have Jair Brown. Then it's George Odom. Then it's practice squad. So they really, I think, could use a couple safeties. I think they'll probably get one in free agency and one in the draft would be my guess. So I do expect them to make and then tight end wise, I think the same thing. I think they're probably going to bring in one veteran tight end and maybe one in the draft.
We were talking about Robert Tonyan Jr. earlier this week.
Yeah, like a guy like Tonyan on the safety, on the tight end side could come over. There's a couple different veteran safeties that are out there. I think they will bring in a couple more bodies before the draft on the 25th.
Before we take a little looky at what happened on opening day, what the Warriors got in front of them in the NCAA tournament, Larry, you got any other Niner or anything we got to get on this show today for posterity?
No, other than the 49ers are hosting the Oregon defensive end Brandon Dorless on a pre-draft visit, and he's interesting because he's a defensive end, but he's about 290 pounds. They weighed him at the combine. They measured him at 6'3", 283. He ran 4.85. He had a 30.5-inch vertical. So
it's a lot of that's a lot of athlete for a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big defensive end. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if that's a guy they're going to have interest in the draft, but they brought him in for a 30 visit, and they only have there's limits to that. So yeah, he's a natural edge rusher who can play standing up or with his hand in the dirt. They say he's got instincts and awareness. So add that name to your names of Niner potential first or second round picks. Brandon Dorless from the University of Oregon.
I mean, I'll say this. I haven't seen that name in a single mock draft in the first round, I don't think. So it feels like that could be a guy that you start talking to if you're thinking of taking 31 and maybe trading back.
Possibly. But, there's also, guys in the high second round that if you have a late first round pick and you don't feel like you've got a trade back option, you may just take the guy you like best. And that may be a guy with a second round grade. And teams have done that pretty consistently in the last 10 years. So, whether it be Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia, a guy like Brandon Dorless, defensive end from Oregon, Michael Hall, the defensive tackle, or Ruke Ororo, the defensive tackle from Clemson. I could see them, basically having people going, you reached for your first round pick. Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And if you like a guy and give him a high second round grade and you've got a late first round pick, you got a decision to make.
Yeah. At that point, I think, I always hate the debate about whether you're drafting need or best available. I just think that the Niners have done an awful lot of transactions around their defensive line already. And they got to get the next decision feels like it has to be an offensive line decision. It just feels that way. I'm going to be stunned if they are. If
they like their line. It's pretty clear from listening to Shanahan, he likes Colton McKivitz. So yeah, they're still looking. And if the right offensive tackle is there at 31, they'll pounce. But if it's not the right offensive tackle at 31, I think they'll go D-line or a different position and go offensive tackle later on.
I still want to see Amarius Mims. He's going to be hard to find at 31, I think, but I like him an awful lot. Anyway, Larry, so there you go. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much, 49er fans, waking up with Damon and Larry. We appreciate you being here. If we had more Niner news to give you, we would give it to you, but that's it. That's all the news that's basically fit to print. Yesterday, Larry, the A's fan protest got some really good front page placement over on ESPN.com this morning. It feels like that event went very well for those attended. It looks like they had more people in the parking lot than they had inside the actual park. And the A's rewarded any fan who made it in there by being one of two major league teams that actually got shut out on opening day. The A's and White Sox are the only teams to get goose-egged, and it's like the two of them are trying to have a race to the bottom of who can have a less impressive year. No one is expecting the White Sox to do anything. No one's expecting the A's to do anything, and on opening day, neither team did.
Yeah. JJ Bleday did have a couple hits for the A's. A's only had 4 hits. Alex Wood went 3 1/3, gave up 7 hits, 6 earned runs. So he was their starter. And they got lit up in front of how many people were there? Did they say what the attendance was?
Yeah, I think they reported it like 14,000 or something like that. There was, that's double the lie of the actual amount of humans in there.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I don't really care because I don't really care. I mean, I don't care about John Fisher. I don't care about the A's and their fans. I don't care if the A's leave. I don't want them to leave. I'd prefer them not to leave. I went to A's games last year. I've taken my kids consistently to A's games through the years. I'd rather they stay. I think it's a huge, huge mistake for Rob Manfred to allow them to leave the 5th largest market in the country for Las Vegas. But I will say this, the Las Vegas stadium renderings looked really cool, and I would love to go to an A's game in Las Vegas. So to me, the right move here would be to go with the migration. The migration has gone from, the North Bay and the East Bay has migrated further north towards Sacramento. Sacramento's a great baseball town. They have a AAA facility. Dress it up, put a extra, bleachers out there and move to Sacramento. That's what I would do if I were them. Instead, they're going to move to Vegas, and they're going to wind up having to kind of cultivate a whole new fan base.
Like, to me, John Fisher has already so thoroughly ruined one major league city. I wouldn't give him the opportunity to ruin a second one. Like,
but they are doing that. So I'd rather have them be in Sacramento and have A's fans be able to. I mean, let's just say this. Whatever crowd went last night, those people are passionate. Those people are bought in. Those are real A's fans. If you put that thing in Sacramento, those people would find their way to Raleigh Field and they would go to Sacramento. And that's where they should be. That's where they should be. They should be in Sacramento and, not in Vegas. Well, I hope that they go part-time to Sacramento, see what a great market that really is for them, and then just quit on the Vegas idea.
Sacramento does seem to be on its way to be the leading candidate to be the temporary spot of the A's while any stadium is getting built in Las Vegas, if that's indeed what's still going to happen. The River Cats would be sharing their stadium with the A's. Sacramento could be a leading candidate for a temporary home. So we'll see if that happens. But Ed, that's worth keeping an eye on in terms of just Bay Area baseball news, because if that is going to happen, it's probably going to happen in the next couple of weeks. You're going to hear something about it. I know that Salt Lake City, Utah wanted to throw its hat into the ring as a possible eventual expansion city for Major League Baseball, and they were desirous of bringing in the A's to sort of run a 2-3 year experiment to show everyone how good that could go. So we'll find out. We'll find out, but
it makes sense. Sacramento's a great baseball town, and there's great baseball history there, and it's a short drive from Vacaville and Sassoon and all these places that many people who lived near and around the Coliseum have moved in the last 10 years. So I don't think it's that big of a stretch to say, hey, you know what? They're in Sacramento. Plus, the nighttime weather in Sacramento in the summertime is glorious.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing. You can sit up there in shorts and short sleeves and have a beer, and I mean, it would be a very enjoyable experience, and it will be in a short-term fit. I just hope they can fall in love and produce enough corporate sponsorship and enough attendance to make the A's go, maybe this is the spot for us. So it sounds like Vegas is only partly interested at this point.
I just think that the closer you get to looking at how John Fisher runs things, the further away you should get from wanting to actually be in a situation where John Fisher is running anything. I mean, the guy is an absolute disaster of a major league owner. You can't find a worse one. They haven't made one yet. Worse than
maybe Mark Davis. I mean, Mark Davis he's no better than John Fisher, other than he's got the NFL on his side and collective resources. Otherwise, he's just the same boob that Fisher is. And, if I'm Las Vegas, do I want two kind of boobish type owners? I will say this, though, the stadium renderings in Vegas are amazing. Did you see them?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't attach amazing to it as much as I would attack the word unrealistic. Like there's just no way that's going to happen. That stadium was not a painstakingly carefully rendered stadium. That they don't even have lights involved in that. The whole thing seems like a pipe dream to me more than a reality. But I mean, look, there's what you'd have to build to get people to come pay attention to you in Las Vegas is a stadium that is just new big thing. Like the A's could have success just by showing up in Sacramento, you would think, because Sacramento would be very, very happy to have a Major League Baseball team. But I do want the A's to stay in Oakland, only for the fact that we get the American and National League both in town. And I know that you can still get every team in baseball rolling through any one stadium, and I don't like that. I like when there was a difference between the American and the National, but I want to see both teams in town. I think that there's a fan base there that has just been so put off that if there really were to be a sell and a new team given, there would be a invigoration of interest that would mirror how excited Kings fans became when the Kings were announced to be staying in Sacramento. Like, I think there's a big pendulum swing that could make it work in the East Bay again with just anybody else other than John Fisher. But that son of a bitch ain't going to sell because he doesn't sell jeans like he used to at the Gap, and his stock price without this team means he's no longer the billionaire that he pretends to be. So he needs this.
He's plenty rich. I mean, he's plenty rich. I'll tell you what would be a great idea is build some ports and have the A's on a traveling barge that moves around the bay and moves, and you can play. Seriously, you have them on a barge. You play 15 games a year outside San Jose. You play 15 games a year outside of Oakland. You play 15 games a year outside of whatever northern barge location you can have.
Have an Alcatraz series where you're just going around Alcatraz counterclockwise for home innings and clockwise for away innings. I don't know.
Put the A's on a barge, a moving barge.
Bingo long traveling all-stars A's barge. That's it's not
you said it. You said it. I mean, there's going to be, if it was announced at 10 a.m. that Joe Lacob bought the A's would have double or triple the attendance tonight. It's not like their fans aren't there. Their fans are there. They're just boycotting John Fisher. And rightfully so. So,
but having said all that, and I'm not trying to make an argument for John Fisher hasn't ruined this relationship with the fan base. Even when there were no talks of relocation or the stadium thing, like the A's were always the team that drew 50,000 on opening night, and then game number 2, there'd be 15,000 tops in the stands. That's always kind of been their brand.
No, that's not true. The A's, when I was in high school, outdrew the Giants. Fact. Go look it up. The A's outdrew the Giants when I was in high school.
Oh, in the late 80s. Yeah. When they hit their Jose Canseco, Dennis Eckersley, everything that you would ever want, and Ricky Henderson is here phase of their franchise, they did very well. But
the A's in the early 70s
in year two.
The A's in the early 70s outdrew the Giants. So the A's can outdraw the Giants if they would invest in the community and market their team and build a team and, you know, have a competitive outfit. They had a great thing going. They just basically sapped off the general fund for about $40 million a year for about 15 years and just dug their heels in and said, well, if Major League Baseball or some private entity wants to build us a stadium, we'll take it. Other than that, we're just going to keep pocketing the general fund and do nothing. And that's what they did until MLB finally yanked their chain and said, you know what? We're now yanking the general fund from you. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, we got to get a stadium built. And yeah. And they didn't work on a stadium forever because they were just taking basically welfare checks from MLB. So it's a complicated situation because you've got the city of Oakland could never afford, nor ever should try to afford, subsidizing major league sports. But it's not a good thing for the A's, the Warriors, and the Raiders to all leave. That's not a good thing for Oakland and the schools and the roads and everything else in the city of Oakland. That's not a good thing. So it's like, they unfortunately, John Fisher could have done what Larry Baer and Peter McGowan and Walter Schornstein and the Giants ownership group did. They could have easily put together a privately funded team and chose not to. Said, you know what? It's easier to just sit here, do nothing, and cash checks. And that's what they did. The Giants, from when they bought the team, the new ownership group in 1992, till the end of that decade, 2000, lost $100 million pouring money into a facility that was dying. But they did it with a game plan to build, Oracle Park and wind up with the greatest real estate deal in the history of San Francisco. And they did it. And now here we are 25 years later, and the Giants are enormously wealthy. They own their park. They own much of the land around their park. They have $500 million in annual revenue. Their franchise is worth nearly $5 billion. They paid $100 million for it. And they're sitting absolutely in the catbird seat, while the A's have gotten their general fund dole turned off by MLB, and they're scrambling, trying to use different municipalities to leverage them against each other to get what they ultimately wanted, which was a free stadium. And they may get it in Vegas. So we'll see. But they should try to stay close to Oakland. And I think it's in the best. I mean, is it in the better long-term interest of the NBA to be in Seattle or Oklahoma City? I would say Seattle, but they're in Oklahoma City. Why? Because Clay Bennett and David Stern had a handshake deal and they made it happen. Well, is it better for MLB to have two teams in Northern California or one team in Las Vegas? I don't know. I would say two teams in Northern California makes a lot more fiscal sense long term, but
right. What I would want if I were
not Rob Manfred
is two teams in Northern California and a team in Las Vegas, and then get all of those expansion fees and blah, blah, blah that they're waiving so John Fisher can take his act to a new town. So, baseball is run poorly from a John Fisher standpoint, and you put John Fisher and Rob Manfred together in the same room, and it's Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and incapable over here and not too impressive over there. These are two schmucks who are not good for the game of baseball, and they have major levers to pull and power to wield, and it totally sucks. Meanwhile, Larry, down in Southern California, the San Francisco Giants got underway with their baseball season, and they lose to the Padres in a pretty good game. The important thing is that Logan Webb pitched really well. Logan Webb looked really, really good on opening day. And I think that the Giants, didn't waste much time showing you that they're going to be a little bit better than everyone thought just about a month ago. So, nothing really to report there other than Logan Webb looked good. You go around opening day, you got the Diamondbacks plating 14 runs in the third inning. It's the most amount of runs scored in any inning on an opening day in Major League history, and a 16-1 win over Colorado. So the Diamondbacks can still, but I wonder if the Giants will have a 14-run game this year, much less a 14-run inning.
Well, I mean, there were some interest. I watched the Giant game start to finish. I thought there were some interesting things. I mean, the question is, Conforto looked great. I mean, yep. He absolutely looked great. He had a home run off Suarez in the ninth inning. He had a nice double. Maybe Conforto ought to hit 3, 4, 5. But that was my takeaway, is that the Giants' middle of the lineup. I mean, the Padres' middle of the lineup was Cronenworth, Machado, and Kim. The Giants' middle of the lineup was Wade, Chapman, and Yaz. The Giants' middle of the lineup went 2 for 10. And it's just, it's like, or 2 for 10. Wade had a hit, Chapman had a hit. But I mean, the Giants lineup, middle of the lineup that's the big argument. I mean, the Giants bullpen is going to get blamed for a lot this year because they're going to be involved in a lot of low scoring games. But Luke Jackson went out with an injury. Then they went to Ryan Walker. They went to Eric Miller. The Giants bullpen is okay, but the Giants middle of the lineup sucks. And it's like the middle of that lineup. I mean, why were the Giants in such a rush to re-sign Mike Yastrzemski? I don't get that. I really don't understand that. Why were they in such a rush to hand a first base platoon to Wade and Flores? I mean, Flores is a damn good hitter. Wade's just kind of eh. Is Chapman even better than Casey Schmidt? I don't even know that.
From a glove standpoint, sure, but that's where that ends.
But Casey Schmidt's a great defender. And then Yaz stinks. I mean, Yaz doesn't hit at all. I mean, he's a right fielder. That's your right fielder. So I mean, it's like the Giants, I don't know what the heck they're doing with their roster, but I mean, it's like, okay, Jung-Hoo Lee, but I mean, it's pretty obvious they way overpaid Jung-Hoo Lee. I mean, Jung-Hoo Lee had a single yesterday, then he got picked off. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we don't know. It's still too early to tell. I'm not gonna. He's the least of the problems I think the Giants have right now.
I disagree. I mean, you're paying him $19 million a year. He better be fucking good.
No, yeah.
And
we don't know that.
I asked Marty Lurie. I said, "Hey, Marty, you're down there. What do you think? I'll trust your eye. You've been watching this year after year. What kind of average do you think Jung-Hoo Lee is going to hit for this year?" I said he's got to hit about 285, 290. They're paying him $19 million a year. He said 255. If that kid hits 255 and doesn't have 20 homers and doesn't have 20 steals, that's a shitty signing.
No, yeah.
So I don't know about Jung-Hoo Lee. And then I don't know about the middle of that lineup. I don't know about their depth. Their pitching, I think, might be better than we think, especially if some of these young guys come of age. But all these people that are talking about 90 wins, what are you, high? They're not winning 90 games. This team's going to be a 500 team. This is a 500 team, I think, which is 9 wins away from 90 wins. I would say they're much more likely to win 79 than they are to win 90. We'll see. I mean, the Padres are better. The Dodgers are better. The Diamondbacks are better. So it's like
only the Rockies are definitely worse than you in your own division. I mean, my God, the Dodgers. They got 3 MVPs hitting 1, 2, 3. At the top of that order is ridiculous.
And the Diamondbacks are good. They just went to the World Series.
Yep.
They've got a better rotation. They just signed Jordan Montgomery to kind of negate your Blake Snell. I just think that the Giants offensively are going to be offensive. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be really a bad offensive team. Because
I don't know if there's one guy in the Giants lineup who's absolutely this guy's a number 3 hitter. This guy's a cleanup hitter. This guy is the perfect guy to have at the top of your lineup. Like, it feels all very mix and match. And again, Jung-Hoo Lee could be your leadoff guy all year. He might be better off hitting 7th or 8th for you all year. And then which case, what are you going to have as your leadoff spot? Because they tried that with Yastrzemski at times, and he's not that. And what are you going to put Nick Ahmed there? You can't do that.
Their best hitter is Wilmer Flores. That's all you need to know.
How about the fact that yesterday, Larry, Joey Bart is on the opening day roster and Marco Luciano was not?
Joey Bart hit 300 in spring training, and the Giants want to trade him, but they don't want to get nothing for him. So I don't know what the heck they're doing, but they're going to play some roster game and go with Joey Bart. Joey Bart hit 300. You know, he's a catcher. There's a lack of catchers. I think they're waiting for a catcher or two to get hurt in the first 10 days, and that somebody may flip them a decent piece for Joey Bart. As far as Luciano, you know, they say they're in a rebuild, but they act like they have to win every game. So are you in a rebuild, or do you have to win every game? And obviously they're saying they're in a rebuild, but they've never been committed to it. So they're going with Nick Ahmed, and Nick Ahmed's going to have a good year. But, you know, I mean, you were supposed to be in a rebuild, and now you've got Chapman and Ahmed on the left side when you had, you know, Casey Schmidt and Luciano sitting right there. So I don't know if they know what they want to be. I think their business people know they want to sell tickets right now, and they want to have people in the park. Their farm people know that they need to develop their roster and get some young players percolating to the big leagues. But I don't know that the two sides of the regime are actually talking to one another.
Yeah,
Giants have a mix of middling vets and guys that are, you know, I mean, $19 million a year for 6 years for Jung-Hoo Lee. That could look really, really bad.
Well, again, we should almost have Farhan's career evaluated on what becomes of that alone, because who is coming for Jung-Hoo Lee at $17 million? Like, how coveted was he truly? You know, so I don't know.
He got worked by Boris led around by the nose by Boris. Boris passed off the one non-major league caliber, you know, guy. And I don't think Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be just awful, but you're paying him $19 million a year. You're paying him the same that the Astros are paying Yordan Alvarez. You're paying him the same that the Diamondbacks are paying Corbin Carroll. He's not paid to be 255 with 5 home runs and 12 stolen bases. He's paid to be 295 everyday center fielder, leadoff hitter, score 100 runs.
Paying him like an all-star.
Hit 15 home runs, steal 15 bags. You're paying him a shit ton of money. He's got to be good. And I don't know. I don't know if he's good. My guess is I would side with Marty. If Marty says 255, I would say he's probably right.
Why were they dicking around with all those Pablo Sandoval spring training at bats and smiling into the camera like the video? Like, I just don't understand that. What team in baseball candy asses around like that to get a crowd to Scottsdale?
I know. It was embarrassing. Could you imagine if the Dodgers did that? Who's a Dodger from like 10 years ago that they could dust off?
Yasiel Puig, everyone. Here's Yasiel Puig again.
Right.
You know, well, they didn't like him very much, but imagine if
it's fine, I guess, you know, whatever. I mean, and it's amazing. The Giants fans on social media are nauseating. I mean, it's just like, dude, if you say, all I said was yesterday in a tweet, the Giants 3-4-5 of Wade, Flores, and Yaz is the worst 3-4-5 in all of baseball. And instead of countering it with, well, I like these, I think it's better than this team or that team. It's just like, you're being negative. It's like, is this Disneyland? Right. Are you a fan of the Giants or are you a fan of like Toontown? Are you, what are we talking about here? We can't have actual baseball opinions about the relative value of their roster because it might be viewed as negative. It's like, what is this? We have to be candy ass positive about the Giants. Nobody's like that about the Niners. Nobody's like that about the Warriors. It's not like you've got to be positive about the Niners. There's all kinds of people ripping Shanahan and Lynch and every single thing they do. But for the Giants, it's like we have to sit there and just be like, trained seals, oh, great. It's great. Yeah, they're great. They're not great. They're going to beat out the Rockies. They've got, as much revenue as almost any team in the top 5 in Major League Baseball. They're not going to spend it. It's like they're going to make a ridiculous profit and not spend money and trot out a totally inferior product. And we're supposed to just all sit here like trained seals and just clap.
I'll say this, Larry. I'll say this.
Am I being too negative or are you guys being too positive? I would argue that you guys are being too positive, really.
Well, and here's the thing. You're also like blowing smoke where the sun don't shine because I've got 71 people in the room. I had a couple hundred people when we were talking football earlier. Now I've got 70 people left that we've been talking baseball for about 15, 20 minutes here, Larry. So the amount of don't care about that Major League Baseball gets thrown at it by actual gathered audience who came to hear sports talk is something that baseball should be a little concerned with. Again, if we were inventing a sport to fit modern times, we sure as hell would not have invented Major League Baseball. There's no doubt about it. Hey, you're an all-star. Get your game on. Smash Mouth. I love Smash Mouth. They follow me too. We argue back and forth on Twitter. Sometimes Smash Mouth and I slide into each other's DMs to talk sports.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. At least Smash Mouth knows what I'm talking about.
At least Smash Mouth has got it right.
Everyone's worst nightmare says Larry is cooking the Giants. No, I'm not cooking the Giants. The Giants have cooked themselves. It's all out there for everybody to see. The Giants are like 4th or 5th in revenue, and they're like 15th in payroll.
Well, and look, even though they ended up
I don't know, maybe if I'm Baggerly or one of these guys covering the team, maybe you might want to start with that question. Hey, you guys are top 5 in revenue, but you're 15th in payroll. How does that work?
Just Charles Johnson already told you he's trying to break even, Larry. Just trying to break even.
But instead of just having a hot dog in your back pocket and saying, go Giants, how about a tough question that's, hey, your revenue, your spending is not commensurate with your revenue. Why? And just shut up at that point and let them answer the question. That should be a question that's asked, but nobody wants to ask that question. Why is that? Because everybody's bought and paid for.
Yeah, no, it's Andrew Baggerly has access because, he
doesn't ask that question.
He doesn't, right. Kareth Burke gets to get up and close to the Golden State Warriors because the minute you ask a question like, where is Andrew Wiggins? She defends him like a den mother.
Yeah. She's a joke. And as far as Dusty Gold, says Larry's always getting crushed by social media. Hang in there, but I don't care. I'm fine with it. I'm going to keep asking the real questions because the real questions are the real questions. Right. And you can have your free hot dog, but you can't have credibility with it.
By the way, the independence of YouTube is going to, show you why it's valuable, whether you want to believe in it or not.
Yeah. Jung-Hoo Lee's going home. He ain't reading the Chronicle. He's watching Damon and I on YouTube.
That's right. He's a big YouTuber. He likes it an awful lot. Larry, what'd you think of Draymond Green getting tossed 4 minutes into a game? Now, the Warriors, I tell you, we saw Andrew Wiggins' nuts both drop, and he played a good game for the first time in about, a month and a half. So it was good to get a little something out of Wiggins. But boy, I've never seen Steph Curry express more on-court just exasperation with another Draymond, like getting himself thrown out of a game 4 minutes into it. Like, dude, no one here should care about anything that's happened that much 4 minutes into a game. If you've been rubbed the wrong way by an entire night of basketball and what you deem are a whole bunch of calls that deserve now, after we played 40 of 48 minutes, to be motherfucked a little, maybe I can understand that. How much can go wrong in the first 4 minutes of a game where you got to be worked up into a crybaby lather to get yourself thrown out on a night where Kuminga's not even playing? Like, dude, Draymond Green's got 2 more years under contract, a third year that is a player option, and this is going to be happening for 3 more years.
Simple rule. If you get ejected, you don't get the game check.
Watch him get ejected less instantly. I bet all of a sudden he can hold on.
If you get ejected, I don't care if it's in the last second of the game. If you get ejected, you don't get your game check.
I think
it won't happen anymore.
Right. That would solve things for sure.
And Draymond Green, I heard Kerr's conversation with Tom. It's like, the Warriors have tiptoed around Draymond Green forever. So it's on them. It's on them. Everybody kisses his ass, and he's got anger issues and, doesn't have accountability, and there's no downside to it. And now if you're Kerr, you're like, well, I should have noticed in the Heat game that you've been soft pedaling his issues forever. So why would you start coming down hard on him now? I mean, and the Warriors, the Warriors are going nowhere. They're under 500 at home, I believe. Does anybody really want to see them in the play-in tournament? Do they themselves want to be in the play-in tournament?
Well, sure they do. Of course
they do.
Of course they do.
Really? They're not playing that way. They're not playing like a team that's hell-bent to be in the play-in. They're playing
I think they're playing like a team. They're just not very good.
Well, yeah, there's that. But
I'm not seeing a lack of effort. I'm just seeing a lack of basketball.
Yeah, it's an old team. Wiggins was like one of their few guys in their prime. He's not playing very well, or he hasn't played very consistently this year. Kuminga's been up and down. I love Kuminga, but he's been up and down. I don't know what to say about the Warriors. They had a great run. It's over. They're going to have a hard time rebuilding without some really tough decisions. Their best plus minus player this year, do you know who it is?
It's Kuminga, I bet.
No.
Is it Pajemski?
Pajemski is their number 1 plus minus player this year.
And he didn't even score.
So, they're in a weird spot. They're going to have to figure it out, Joe loved his dream idea of Curry, Thompson, and Green going to the finish line together. All right, let's see what it looks like. I don't think it's going to look too good.
No.
I'd love it if it did, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work.
Right. Clay is, through no fault of his own. And Draymond Green just has an issue with personal assholery that is at this point unsolvable, and it'll never be solved. So this is what you get. And Draymond goes to do like a T-Mobile commercial. He's like, I changed, and then I didn't. And then I get to change. Like, he just gets rewarded for his bad behavior over and over and over again. Larry, it looks like you just got a breakfast offer to you or something.
What? Whoa.
What's going on?
The wiring to the thing might not have been closed, the window or whatever. My wife's losing her stuff and pulling out the wiring, and now everything's off kilter a little bit. That's
all right. Well, I mean, there you go. That's the show. I'll tell you right now, you go ahead, Amy, you can start yanking out wires all you want, as long as Larry's got 2 ACLs at the end of this. That's all that really matters.
You know, it's so funny that people start pulling cords around here because, you know, I started pulling strings around the Niners and I found myself gone. You know? So the message is don't pull strings around here.
What do you got coming up this weekend? I know we're going to be back at it on Monday. We'll have a Final Four at least to talk about coming on Monday. We'll have a few more at-bats in the ledger to know a little bit more about these teams when we talk about them on Monday. We'll know what the Warriors did against the Charlotte Hornets tonight. So we'll know a few more things come Monday, but what do we got cooking for next week?
Well, today I'll be going with Chase Senior at 10:45. So about an hour from now, we'll do a little Chase Senior, and then I'm going to watch some NC2A ball. We got some Giants baseball from San Diego, and who knows? Maybe by Monday we'll have more Niner news to talk about on that front too. But big weekend of the Sweet 16 and a little opening weekend of baseball. I got some youth baseball. I was going to go post game tonight with Cyrus on his channel on Locked On, but I told him, I said, I got too many other things going on today. It's like I'd rather watch the NCAA tournament tonight than talk about the Warriors lost to Charlotte. Sorry,
I think they'll beat Charlotte. I'm surprised they picked up as many wins as they have on this road trip, to be totally honest with you. They got the JV Miami Heat team. They were able to overcome Draymond's ejection when they got to Orlando, which I thought was kind of impressive, all things considered. So I expect them to go and win in Charlotte, and then you're going to hear, some press release that says, well, the Warriors have the 4th most wins in the NBA since January, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to try to spin this off as like, here come the Warriors. We'll find out.
Yeah. Wake me when they get there.
David Isaac, welcome.
David Isaac, new member. Flav in the house says, been meaning to call in and tell the story. I saw the staff in Cabo, was 3 feet away from Lynch at the pool all day. He said he needed to sign BA and one more. We'll get it done. Kyle was the drunkest man ever. All right,
okay.
There you go. All right. We got Flav. And Sean Shepard says, people still play baseball. What you know about Moke Ivy, Bruce? Anyway, Armstead was overpaid for a long time. He chose to leave, but that set their offer so low he would have. But they set their offer so low he would leave by. Yeah, I mean they sent him the message for sure. Do you know who Moke Ivy is?
I have no idea who Moke Ivy is.
Okay, there you go. But that does it for us. Thanks to everybody. Check out Damon at 11. Check me out at 10:45.
Like and subscribe. All those
like and subscribe to everybody. Thanks to everybody who chatted. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks to the sponsors. I'm brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California, as well as Marin Auto Glass, Underdog Fantasy, and Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. Give Anthony Catania a call. He's down in Monterey at 831-521-5264. Damon, is there anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, let me tell you, I'm very happy to be in a long-term business plan with our good friend Aiyuk, who's got a delicious sandwich waiting for you at nearly 100 locations throughout California and the West Coast. Get yourself an Aiyuk sandwich as soon as you can. And Larry, I'm very happy to announce a new sponsor that is officially starting on the Plus on April 1st. The Dubliner in West Portal is going to be coming aboard as a sponsor. They love the show. They want me to do some shows from the Dubliner, and you and I are always looking for a place to meet up with folks and grab beers with them. So that could be the next location of Plus Mania 4, if you don't mind. But the Dubliner in West Portal is coming aboard as a sponsor, and we're thrilled to have them. And we're going to go get a Guinness, and it's one of the great bars on West Portal, which is one of the single most underrated great strips in San Francisco. It really is.
That's great news. And we should also mention that the newest sponsor of the Krug Show is going to be Mancini's Sleep World. So Mancini's Sleep World has jumped aboard with the Krug Show in the month of April. So we're right at the end of the month of March, and we thank all the good people at Mancini's. The only kind of bed I will sleep on is a Mancini's bed. So we'll have
number. You're not a sleep number guy. Forget about you, Tempur-Pedic, Mancini's, or I'd rather sleep on the floor.
Mancini's. I'm a Mancini's man going forward.
Mancini's forever.
You know why? Because if you do have an injury of any kind, Mancini's will really, really, they're going to cover you, Damon.
Good
they're going to make
Lowry. Good sponsor.
You know what, Lowry? I'll tell you, I'm proud of you.